friends, it is almost December and I have finished last year's December daily. Yay! I am so happy this is finished. I love how this turned out. So if you saw my last video, I went through some of the things that I needed or the days that I needed to finish, and basically what I'm doing is starting from the back and working forward. So I'm on my last day here. I've got those fun stitched felt numbers, which I love. Give me those all day, every day. I love them. So I'm using my paper piercer to kind of pierce through those. They're a little tough, but it worked. And then I'm going to actually pierce the transparency that I have there, and I'm going to stitch through all of that. You can see there's actually a little bit of a pattern on that transparency. It's hard to see in the video, but I'm just going to take some of my red embroidery floss, and I'm just going to do one stitch. That's it, just to hold it on there. And thanks to Allie Edwards, I discovered this handy dandy tool that helps you thread your needle. So I'm probably doing it wrong, but it still helped. So I was thankful for that. So I'm just going to add that one little red stitch, adds a little bit, you know, a little pop of color there. And then I'm going to just tie it in a knot on the back. And I opted to not put anything on the back where I tied the knot. I was going to, you'll see here in a minute, I looked at some of the gold hearts that were, I believe, in the advent calendar last year, and ultimately decided to just leave it as is, because I tied it in a knot. When I tried to put something on there, it didn't want to stick, so it is what it is, and it's fine. So the numbers do kind of wobble a little bit, you can see there, so I added a tiny bit of red line tape under the bottom of that 5 where it would be on the frame, so you wouldn't be able to notice it, and that keeps it pretty stable, and it looks super cute against that Mary paper that you'll see here in a second with all the fun colors and the gold foiling on there. I love that paper so much. So next thing I needed to do was tackle the back of that, and I didn't really have a photo that I wanted to use, so you can see there on the right I used just one big photo of our Christmas afternoon with all the mess. So I kind of went through all my papers and I was pulling out different ones that I thought might work. And then I pulled out this heart, I think it's a sticker from the advent calendar. And I think it says 2024. So I opted to keep it very simple and just kind of cover that back. And it works for me. So once I got those papers adhered back to back, got it trimmed out, punched the holes, trimmed my embroidery floss. You'll see here in a second, I kind of tried those gold hearts and again, opted to just leave it alone. So now I'm back to Christmas Eve, and this is a couple page spread. I had already printed out my journaling on my one of my 3x8 cards, and so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that. But first, if you saw my last video, I showed the pictures of my dogs and those fun scallop frames. And it dawned on me when I was working on this, the reason why I didn't do that is because I would have seen the white from the other side of the photos behind those scallop photos. So here I'm just kind of using some of my paper scraps that I had, and I'm just going to cut a 3x4. I believe I end up going with those candy canes. And I'm just going to cut a 3x4 piece of the pattern paper to go behind each of the scalloped tags. And then I'm going to adhere my photos of my puppers on there. And then I use just a tiny bit of adhesive to kind of hold those in place. And then I'll add some twine, and it ends up looking super cute that way. I love how those scallop tags look on there. They're so cute. Like I said before, I love those. I think I ended up getting 3 packs of those because I love them so much. So now I'm going to tackle those, the 3x8 cards, and I'm just going to layer the transparency and my journaling on top of each other so I can cut off those holes so then I can stitch it onto my page protector. I made sure to take my photos out before I stitched it because I didn't want to accidentally, stitch on there. So once those are stitched on, or once that is stitched on, I'm going to put my photos back in there, and it looks so cute. Oh, I love all those little pieces of twine just popping out there. And then after that, oh, you can see here I kind of added just a tiny bit of adhesive just to keep it from moving around as I flip through the book. But it looks so cute like that. I love it. And then after I put all these photos in there, I'm going to just embellish that journaling just a little bit. I left room at the top and the bottom of my journaling so that I could add something. Wasn't sure what, but I knew I'd probably add some washi tape or maybe a star or a heart. I ended up going with one of those gold hearts on the top, and then I believe I end up adding, some washi tape on the bottom. I love this washi tape. I love any kind of print or washi that looks like it's typed in a typewriter. So I kind of just cut off part of that. I think it says Merry and Bright or Merry Christmas. I can't remember what that says. I can't tell. And then I just added a little bit of extra adhesive on those little hearts because I know these albums will be flipped through and I want to make sure it stays secure. And then I'm just kind of looking for something to put on my photos, maybe one of those word phrase stickers. I also wanted to find something to go on the back of that transparency, kind of going through all those transparency squares, but those didn't really work. So I ended up going with that gold circle that says Santa's coming. I believe that was in the main kit. And that just looks super cute right there. Perfect for Christmas Eve. Just kind of going through everything and seeing what looks best. So once I adhered that, I adhered it with a little bit of red line tape. And then I'm just going to kind of go through some of my word phrase stickers and add a couple of those on my photos. And then, of course, I thought it needed something on the edge there, some kind of palm trim. Of course, I could have just added a tab, but that pop of red is going to look super cute right there on the edge. So I hadn't adhered my transparency to my journaling card, so I'm going to use just a real thin line of red line tape. I think it's like 1/8 of an inch, just to kind of hold my palm trim in place so that I can take it over to my sewing machine and stitch that on. And I just kind of adhered part of it in between and then left the little palms on the outside. And it turned out so cute. I'm so glad I added that red palm trim on there. I love how it looks. So cute. So gonna pop that in my book. Another page done. And let's see, what page am I on next? Oh yeah, we've got these two pages, days 20 and 21, which were mostly done. I just needed to add a little bit of journaling on here. I left my little sticky notes on there for what I needed to add. So I'm going to add my journaling, and I think that's pretty much it for day 20. So flipping over to the back side for day 21, I already had all these photos and that Believe card in there. I just needed one more thing for that last 3x4 slot. So going through all of my 3x4 cards that I have kept over the years. And if you've been doing December Daily for a while, you might recognize some of those are very old. So I have quite a bit. I had a few options that I was kind of trying to decide. I like that wreath looking one. I like the joy, the black one with, I think the stars looked real cute. But ultimately I ended up sticking with that Marian Bright and the joy on there. And then I grabbed the white puffy numbers, and I'm going to use those to put the 21 on my day. And I believe I end up putting those on one of my photos that has a lot of black in it. Yep, I'm going to grab that photo of my china cabinet and my plant stand that has Christmas lights, because plants like to be festive too. So I'm going to add the 21 on there, and then I believe I'm add a little bit of something, maybe a star or something like that. Again, I'm just kind of going through my embellishments and trying to figure out, I wanted to add a little bit of gold, a little bit of something. So now I'm really diving in, grabbing my box of extra embellishments. And I'm gonna try and figure out what I need to add on this page. Ultimately, I ended up pulling out these star stickers that, again, those have been in my stash forever. And I added a couple of those, one on the journaling tag, one on the photo, and then I've got a bigger one that's on the bigger photo. So flipping back, I think we're going to go all the way back to, is it day 2? Yeah. Day 2, I hadn't put anything in there for day 2. I had my journaling for day 3. So, and then I had that red star transparency on there. So I ended up finding this photo. Snoop on the Stoop made an appearance this year. It was so fun. My son, who is an adult who still lives at home, actually did this. I didn't know he was going to do it. He just, Snoop just showed up one day on the 2nd, and it was pretty funny. It's so fun to see when your kids become older and adults, and then they start taking part in the joy and the merrymaking and all the fun stuff. So Snoop kind of moved around the house. He got into trouble. He liked cookies a lot. So I did a little bit of journaling. I believe I ended up just printing that on photo paper because it was just easier. So I'm going to attach that to the bottom of my journaling from day 1. And then I've got the photo on the bottom. I'm going to put the journaling on top. And then I'm going to add a little bit of washi. And you'll notice I left a little bit of room at the top of my journaling just so that I could add something if I wanted to, add a number, add an embellishment, whatever I want. That's usually what I do. So I'm going to punch my holes there, and then I believe I'm going to add some washi in between the 2 spots between the photo and the journaling. So I was kind of looking through my washi trying to decide what I wanted to put there. I kind of considered putting maybe one of the word strips or something like that. But nothing really seemed to fit. There's not really a journaling strip that kind of goes with Snoop Dogg. So I believe I ended up pulling out these strips from, again, I think those were from the advent calendar. And here's where it kind of made an oops. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that the word strip was too long for my journaling card. And right there, I'm like, crap. I realized that it's going to be too short because I cut it. So I ended up just, I still had the little piece that I cut off. So I ended up reattaching it back on, and then I used my tiny attacher to kind of add a little something, but it also helps keep it on right there. And then I'm going to end up adding, I think I'm going to end up adding washi at the top. Yep, I'm going to add that washi on the top. And nope, I'm going to take that off because I decided I did not want it on there. So changing my mind. That's what I love about washi. You can kind of change your mind about stuff. So then I pulled out these wood stars that I didn't really use very many of these. You can see I have a whole bunch left and I love them. So I need to make sure that I use those this year. So what I ended up doing is I'm going to grab 2 of the stars. I believe I ended up grabbing, I can't remember, it's the smallest one or the middle. There's like 3 sizes. And I'm going to adhere one on both sides, and then I'm going to, put my adhesive in between. So the star point kind of sticks up from the journaling, and you'll see it back to back. So I thought that was a fun little thing to do. Added a little bit of an embellishment on both sides. Got to use a couple of the wood stars that I hadn't used. And I definitely want to make sure I try to use at least some of those this year, because I really do like them. I just didn't end up using those. So there's the front of my journaling, and I had a little word strip on there, so I'm just going to add that star on top. And it kind of looked like it was missing something, so now that star on top looks super cute. I love it. And they're just, like I said, adhered back to back with some red line tape, and it looks super cute. So a short little day 2 right there. I just need to add the number on there, and I will be done. Oh, and then also I need to stamp a sentiment on the back side of the of that little Avery index tab that I already had on there from day 1. So I'm going to stamp that on there with that fun stamp set that I got last year, and then I'm going to pop that back in there. So originally I had this red star 3x8 transparency that I had in there, and I decided to keep it in there because I really like how that looks as you flip the pages. So I decided to keep that in there, and then again I'm pulling out my white puffy numbers, but ultimately I ended up finding these little gold ones in my stash. I can't remember if those are from last year or the year before, but they were just tiny enough to add at the top of my star. And then right here I've got this page that I left myself a little note about stitching some palm trim on the edge, and I was considering white just because I thought it might look nice against the red, but then I pulled out that green and it just looks so cute, especially with my photo on the back with one of my puppers and the Christmas tree. So I ended up adding the green on there, and then just like I did on that other page, I ended up pulling the adhesive off just a little bit in between the photo and the paper, and my bone folder actually worked really well to help me with that. And then I'm just going to squeeze that palm trim right in between the paper and the photo. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive, I believe, or there might be adhesive on there. And then I'm just going to run that through my sewing machine just to add a little something to the edge of that. I love palm trim. I think it looks so cute in these albums. I will always use palm trim. So I especially like it on the back side. That was so cute. So I just use my red thread that was in my sewing machine already. It's fine. I love it. So just a little something. Like I said in my other video, that paper only serves to be a backdrop for that die cut page. So there you go. My album is done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.